And away we go. It's hour number 2, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and a little something we like to call Rapid Fire. Are you ready for it, Vince D'Addario?
I guess so. I didn't realize we were even there yet because we had so much to do. Too close. I'm not far enough away. Too far, too close.
I can't hear you.
Really? I didn't do anything different.
Oh, don't.
Maybe because I was so fired up before I was louder.
There's nothing muted on my end.
Can you hear me?
No.
Oh.
Yep, I can't hear Vince. That's not good. Vince's lips were moving, but there was nothing coming out on
Test. Hello. Oh, hello.
It's my fault. Didn't have that pushed. Sorry.
You're making me look bad. All from county line to county line.
I'll eat it, Vince. I can fall on my own sword. I was so worried about other buttons and making sure they were pushed. I didn't push the most important one, the one that lets the sounds come out of Vince's mouth. So
I mean, my wife would love to know where that button is, I'm sure.
Yes. Turns out I'm the puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes. All right. We've got a Pete Bevacqua press conference coming up tomorrow at noon, and tomorrow's show will be filled with comments from Pete Bevacqua from said press conference. So we'll have that. But in the meantime, he was on the Dan Patrick Show, heard here on Sports Radio WSBT earlier today. And Dan Patrick asked Pete Bevacqua about people saying it's just sour grapes for the Irish to complain that they were left out of the college football playoff. Here's Bevacqua's response to that.
I get why people think it's sour grapes, but it's disappointment, Dan. I mean, this is, we take this seriously, as do other universities, and the rankings can't just be musical chairs at some fifth grade birthday party. They have to mean something. And to me, what happened to us really kind of was alarming.
I mean, I used to like playing musical chairs back in the day at those fifth grade birthday parties, or bobbing for apples and all those fun little games that we used to play back then when we were all so innocent. But that's not what this is. This is big time, big boy college football. And I completely agree. And that's exactly what the committee ultimately made this thing, just musical chairs in the end, Vince. It was just a game to them, it feels like.
Well, I mean, millions and millions of dollars are on the line. All of these things are all legitimate, and I do feel like Notre Dame was being toyed with a little bit at the expense of some other things that the committee wanted to make sure took place.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And Notre Dame was the pawn in the whole thing because it was 3 teams for 2 spots at that point. And again, because Virginia crapped the bed, we got 2 group of 5 teams in there, and there should have been 3 teams available, and Miami should be on the outside looking in, or would have been, Alabama should be. I think Miami and Notre Dame should have been in, but that was never going to happen because Alabama wasn't going to be out.
Yeah. There's a lot of different rumors swirling about what people think Pete Bevacqua is going to talk about tomorrow. I think we're all really curious. There's been some people popping in the YouTube chat with, again, some whatevers. Have you heard anything,
excuse me,
or read anything?
No, I haven't. I'm curious because he has put himself out there today, talking about the decision and all of those things. So why call a press conference specifically? So I feel like something is going to come of it. Now, it could be something as simple as a contract extension for Marcus Freeman. That could very well be the situation here. Could it be some oversweeping situation with the ACC? Could be. I'm very curious as to why the press conference. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he's
because again, he did at least two interviews today that we know.
Yeah.
He did the Dan Patrick show. That's the cuts that we're playing today, where they came from, and he also did Dave Portnoy's show. I'm not exactly sure what that show is called. It's got different variations. I think it's whatever it's morphed in. But in any case, he did at least 2. So is there something that he is going to talk about tomorrow that's going to be different, or is it just an opportunity, since he has done a couple of national platforms for us guys here locally who are on the beat to ask him whatever questions we want to lob at him tomorrow. That's what I'm going to be curious to see. Is there actually a different purpose other than that Pete Bevacqua is going to address tomorrow?
Yeah, and somebody kind of, I'm guessing jokingly, said that they were going to start their own conference. You know what I mean? And again, you got to think about the overarching issues here. That if Notre Dame decides independently to start their own conference, anybody in that conference is still going to be quote unquote independent because that conference is not recognized by the CFP, and all of that. So
is NBC also going to pony up 60 million, 50 million per school for that, which is less than a lot of these schools are making in other conferences? I know, people are probably joking about that. Well,
I'm sure they are. I'm trying to think like realistically what he's going to say.
Let me ask you this though, because we started to talk about this at the end of the first hour and we were short on time, and I told you to save your thoughts on this. Bevacqua also went on the Pat McAfee show last Friday going into the week, and then, coming out of the weekend, 2 shows today. Did Pete Bevacqua / Marcus Freeman / Notre Dame, did they wait too long to make a PR push to try to negate all this stuff from the ACC and Miami?
I mean, I would like to think that it had no bearing on anything, to be honest with you, because I still to this day don't think it did. Now, they took a PR hit based on all the talking and the nonsense that was going on. There's no doubt about it. Like in the court of public opinion, they took a hit. And so if they wanted to push back, then they probably should have done something. I just don't necessarily want them on a soapbox like a carnival barker like Mario Cristobal was. That's not why they got in.
See, and that's
clear about that. That's not why they got in.
Is it like, did the committee just finally cave to all the noise?
I don't think so.
That's what it feels like to me.
Well, I get that.
Whether it's the, trying to appease the ACC, because the ACC is also one of their TV partners. They're paying the ACC revenue, for televising ACC games, and that garbage championship game that they put on that was basically an overblown exhibition on, late Saturday night. Like they're a partner with the ACC.
Right, I get it.
And obviously the ACC was pushing back, Miami fans and all these people in the media, including ESPN people. So like there was all blowback, and I went in, I said at the last week, so I don't want to sound contradictory, like I'm contradicting myself, but I did feel like going into the week, like, were you really going to accomplish that much by coming back and pushing back, and trying to, because you're kind of on the defensive when you're trying to, counter some of this stuff. But like I saw a tweet from Mike Berardino from the South Bend Tribune yesterday. Notre Dame didn't score after the 5:13 mark of the fourth quarter during their 10-game winning streak, but Miami scored 45 points in the last 3 minutes of 7 lopsided wins. 38 of those points came in the last 2 minutes of their games. Like things like that, that maybe Notre Dame could have been, like some numbers of their own that Notre Dame could have been showing in their defense. Like it feels like there's something that could have been done. And again, I don't want to contradict myself, because I didn't feel like Marcus Freeman and Pete Bevacqua, needed to be out there stumping all week last week. But at the same time, now when we see the final result, it sure feels like, again, the whiners won. Like the people who whined and cried the loudest ended up winning. How much effect did that stuff ultimately have on the playoff committee? Because there was a lot of venom being directed at them. How much of that played into their ultimate decision?
It might have had a very small piece. I don't think it had anything to do with it, to be honest with you. I think that if Virginia beats Duke, this is a moot point and Miami's out. What the problem was, yes, you're right. All of those people that were all talking crap and all of that, they are vindicated in their own eyes because of the way that it worked out. I don't think that's why it worked out that way. I think it worked out that way because the committee was sitting there along with ESPN, to your point, who pays the bills for the ACC. Okay. Oh, we can't not have an ACC team in here. We can't put Duke in because they're terrible, but they just won their championship. So we have to put an ACC team in. And it was Miami. I really do think that that's the way it went down. I don't think it had anything to do with the chit chat or any of that stuff. I really don't. I don't think it had anything to do with it. That's my opinion, but I think it came down to the fact that no ACC team was going to be in, but 2 group of 5 teams were about to be in, and they're like, "Oh crap, we can't do that. We've got to have an ACC team in the field." I really do think that's what it was.
I do think. I think that was part of it, but it just it feels like the narrative that was being pushed by that side went a long way. Like a combination of.
I think we all got worn down by it. I think everybody, I was saying that. Well, you know what? I think Miami and Notre Dame both deserve to be in. You know what I mean? Because I got worn down by it, and I do think that both Miami and Notre Dame deserve to be in over Alabama. You can't go to your conference championship game and get your butt handed to you. You can't do that and stay in the same spot. That's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Honestly, it should have been Miami 9, Notre Dame 10. Call it a day. That's where I'm at.
I agree.
What it should have been.
I agree. All right. We'll get back to Pete Bevacqua here in a second, but some other big news today. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Notre Dame backup quarterback Kenny Minchey plans to enter the transfer portal.
Thoughts on Kenny Minchey? Not surprising. If Notre Dame was in the playoff, we wouldn't have had this announcement when we got it. But there's no other games to be played, no practices to be had, and so he put it out there. I don't know. Did he actually put it out there, or is this a?
This is a
told by people. Okay.
Right.
Again,
I think it came
surprising.
from On 3 first. Okay. One of the national guys at On 3.
That's fine. That's the most, if you were going to give me the whole roster and you're like, okay, point to the guy that you are most likely to enter the portal, it would have been Kenny Minchey. Kenny Minchey competed for the position. He lost out. He could be the starting quarterback on so many Division I football teams. And that is exactly what he's about to do. And I wish him all the best. He competed hard. He was a great backup. He was a company man. He did all the things he should have done.
Mm-hmm.
Now go be a guy. Go be a dude someplace. I have no problem with it whatsoever.
That's exactly it. I think it's the least surprising news. Like, of anyone who plans to enter the transfer portal, we all expected Kenny Minchey to hit the transfer portal once this season was over with. He was the number 2 quarterback. He got his reps here and there. I'm sure he would have liked more, but
sure.
He competed. He pushed the competition with CJ Carr right down, to the wire before they ultimately made the decision. He made it made the decision as hard as he could. And like you said, now he gets to go out. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He gets to go out and be a guy someplace. And hopefully it works out really well for him, and like, he didn't pull the plug like some guys before the season was over. He would have ridden this out. I have full confidence. Had Notre Dame made it into the playoff,
absolutely.
He would have stuck with them throughout the playoff run. And the portal doesn't officially open until January, but good luck to him. I'm sure he's going to end up being a Power 4 quarterback someplace next year.
And he'll be successful
wherever he is.
He's a good player. He's a really good player, and Notre Dame was blessed to have 2 really good players. The right guy won out. It is what it is, If you and I had a competition for best radio guy, you would win out, and I'd be okay with it because you're better.
Would you hit the transfer portal though? Would you leave? Would you
Absolutely not? I'm a great sidekick. I will be Robin to your Batman all day long.
But you plug in well. Like, you plug in well. When I go down or when I'm out, you plug in. The show doesn't miss a beat. It just keeps on rolling.
Man.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Let's roll, baby.
Got that rudder. Steering the ship. ND versus everybody in the YouTube chat says, yesterday was the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, where America was hit by a sneak attack. Yesterday, Notre Dame was also hit by a sneak attack.
I would hate to compare college athletics with what happened at Pearl Harbor specifically, but I understand the analogy, and it did feel very much like a sneak attack, to go along with that analogy. But that's apropos, I guess.
I saw an interesting feature yesterday on CBS Sunday Morning. This woman who's American, her grandfather, like, the family had immigrated from Germany, and he was a Nazi, and they planted him in Pearl Harbor, and he was ultimately convicted of spying to aid the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. And her dad the son of this guy, was living over there at the time as well. But he ultimately renounced the family. Like, they ultimately sent the family back to Germany. Her dad renounced the family and actually joined the army and fought for the U.S. in the Pacific. And like, she wrote a book a few years back after it was a long held family secret. She wrote a book. And, so it's like a book about her family, about how her grandfather was a spy for the.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty interesting little story. I'm going to have to see if I can find that book, but
that sounds good.
Yeah. Talk about going in a different direction on this show. So Pete Bevacqua on the Dan Patrick Show, more from him about Notre Dame's decision not to play in a bowl game. Here's what Pete Bevacqua said about that.
We made the decision not to play in a bowl game, as I know you're well aware, and a lot of people have asked me about that. And when Marcus, we watched the presentation show, the selection show with the team, and then Marcus, like he always does, was wonderful. Got up, and for somebody that always has great answers, he was brutally honest with the team and said he didn't have a lot of answers, doesn't understand how this happened, why a team that thought it was doing what it needed to do all of a sudden kind of woke up on kind of the wrong side of this. And then just as you're kind of dealing with that, you start getting these calls from other bowls. And, the role of a captain on the Notre Dame football team is a role that the program and Marcus takes very, very seriously. And he talked to all the captains, said, hey, what are you guys thinking? What is the team thinking? Let's talk about this. And, to a person, the captains and some of the other, underclassmen on the team said, listen, we are such a close-knit team. We've done so much this season. We overcame those 2 opening losses. We rallied. We dominated in the last 10 games. We can't imagine taking the field not as that team. And it's reality, Dan. You know that certain players wouldn't participate in that game. You think about somebody with the future that he has, like a Jeremiah Love, a Jadarian Price, Eli Raridan, Emil Wagner, who's one of the most impressive people I've met in my life, who hopefully after he's done playing football, I hope he runs for president one day. It just wouldn't be the same. And, made the decision that it was time to start thinking about next season, give these student athletes a break. They have exams coming up, and then, really, hopefully they'll go home and spend Christmas and the holidays with their family and friends.
All right, so some interesting stuff there from Pete Bevacqua, the explanation for why Notre Dame opted out of the bowl game, which of course has everyone up in arms, taking their ball and going home. An interesting little news dump there when you heard some of the names that are like Jeremiah Love. I think that was kind of a given, but Jadarian Price, not quite as
that was a given too.
Well,
that was a given.
I think it was leaning towards a given, but I think there were at least some people holding out hope. But but like, you hear that explanation, the captains were like, "Look, we wanted to play with our guys. This is our team. These are the guys that we fought with week in and week out." So, what do you think of that explanation for Notre Dame's decision to opt out?
It's an explanation. I don't agree with it, but it's an explanation. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I get it. They didn't want to compete in another game, not at full strength, essentially. Like the team that they became, the team that they were, that they had become. Like they didn't want to compete, not as that team. I get it, because you would have had people opt out, and they wouldn't have been the team that they had become. I don't think that's a good reason to not do the bowl game. But okay,
is there a good enough reason for you not to do the bowl game then? Like,
well, no, because it's preparation for next year. I mean, you didn't get in, so you're turning the page.
Spring practice is preparation for next year, though. I realize everyone talks about the 15 practices.
You don't get to play a game. You don't get to play a game. I want to play a game with some people. I want to see them in game action. I that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, but I would also say they played until the end of January last year. I think that took a toll on a lot of bodies, and I'm not upset. Like I can go either way with it, because at the end of the day, bowl games now more than ever are just overblown exhibition games.
I don't disagree with that.
And play and practice and those things, but the one thing I would say is this, and I know that Bevacqua talked about, well, as soon as you're left out of the playoffs, all these bowls start calling and they want answers. Well, if they want you badly enough, and I think that they did want you badly enough, you could have said, look, give us 24 hours. let us sit on this for 24 hours. We'll get back to you on Monday. And like, let some of the emotion from, like from the captain's perspective and the team perspective, let some of that, and like sleep on it overnight. Let's revisit this on Monday and see if this is what we really want to do. That would have been, I think that would have been appropriate.
It was an emotional decision
to sleep on it for a night, come back a day later and say, okay, yay or nay, this is what we're going to do.
It was an emotional decision made by the players. And,
that's what it felt
but I think that's where the adults have to step in as well and be a part of the conversation. Again, I understand why they made the decision that they did. I just don't think it was the best decision to be made. I do think those 15 crack practices are important. I do think the game is important. And people are saying, well, you don't want kids to get injured, Bob. Kids can get injured walking down the stairs, right? Like we've discussed that before. So like you can never go into a game scared somebody's going to get injured. That's ridiculous. That's not a good excuse for me.
Right. Like you said, any game, anything you do, there's freaking snow and ice outside. They can get injured walking from their dorm over to the football facility any given day. Do you think Outbound says Notre Dame's taking a stand against ESPN? A lot of people think this. Brady Quinn has said that. Do you think that that's part of it?
I think that's
on the Portnoy show denied that, by the way, just so.
I do not think that was part of the decision-making process. I think it's a nice part of this situation at the end, like after the fact.
So you get to stick it to ESPN.
It's kind of like all those people that were shouting about Miami. They can all be like, I was part of it. And you weren't, but you can think that because of the way things went down. I don't think it had anything to do with it, but it's nice that it went down that way.
I agree.
That's where I'm at.
I agree with that. First episode of Here Come the Irish out today. Good timing, bad timing. I don't know.
Well, it'll be great to see the final episode, which obviously hasn't been produced yet.
Will it be great?
Well, it's going to be hard watching because obviously the first episode is going to be training camp and probably the Miami and the A&M game. I don't know that I want to relive that, to be perfectly honest with you, but apparently there's some cameos of some pretty good-looking guys. So maybe we have to go and check it out and watch it.
I tend to agree with that. I'm hearing good things. Good things. Okay, before we hear another comment from Pete Bevacqua, a bowl official reportedly told college football writer Brett McMurphy, quote, "What kind of message does Notre Dame send? We didn't make the playoffs, so let's pack up and go home. You think BYU's upset? Hell yeah, they are. So are other teams, but they sucked it up. That's poor leadership," end quote. And of course, this is pertaining to Notre Dame's decision not to play in the good old Pop-Tarts Bowl. So what do you think about that, Vince?
I think the bowl games are meaningless. So what's the point? I mean, as far as, from a leadership standpoint and all that, I think they should have played because I think it'll make Notre Dame better for next year. It has nothing to do with any kind of they owe it to the college football world to go play. That's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. They don't owe it to anybody. Right.
That's are they mad at Kansas State and Iowa State and Baylor? Like really?
And they all got fined $500,000 for not going. And Notre Dame's not in the conference. So
you're in the conference. That's right. That's right. You got fined by your conference. Your conference was really looking out for you. Look, the players and the teams that play all season are not obligated to fulfill the glory of the chambers of commerce of Orlando and Tampa and San Diego and Charlotte and wherever these games are played. They're just not. Notre Dame doesn't have to sign up to be the holiday entertainment for America. That's not part of the deal. That's like they're here to compete for championships. Teams that go to these bowl games, for one, think about it this way. They're required to buy these ticket allotments of 20 to 30,000 tickets so that the bowl sites, have their guaranteeds that they've got X amount of guaranteed revenue. And then, the teams get stuck with the bills if they can't sell the ticket allotments.
Yeah.
And do you think that Notre Dame fans were going to care about the freaking Pop-Tarts Bowl because a little guy was going to jump out of the toaster at the end of the game? Do you think that Notre Dame fans were going to care about that when they thought they were going to get a chance to compete in the championship bracket and they got stuck in the JV game instead?
Seriously.
I'm sorry.
Seriously.
Yeah. Don't try to shame Notre Dame or any other school into fulfilling these financial obligations that you try to sell us about how great your sunshine and your shopping is. That's what these bowl people care
Right.
about. They all they care about is themselves and their bottom line, and not Notre Dame or Kansas State or Iowa State or Baylor. None of these schools just miss me with any of this
Exactly.
sob story about this. You want Notre Dame because you want to bank on Notre Dame bringing interest and eyeballs to your game in your city, but Notre Dame is not obligated to reciprocate. So
No,
sorry.
they're absolutely not. Like I said, I wanted Notre Dame to go to a bowl game because how it helps Notre Dame. They owe nobody anything. They don't owe ESPN, clearly. They don't owe college football as a whole. They don't owe anybody anything. It's ridiculous that people are coming at Notre Dame like that because they're not going. Look, Notre Dame, when they go to a smaller tier bowl like this, they might break even. Right?
Exactly.
With
because the
money that
payout
they
is
get.
not as big either.
Exactly. And they
Like,
got
do you want to double Notre Dame's guarantee, Pop-Tarts Bowl or whoever
Right.
else? Like, do you want to double up? Do you want to put your money where your mouth is and say, hey,
Exactly.
we'll pay you even more to get you down here? Most likely not, because they want to make sure their bottom line is covered. And I just don't think that there would have been that much interest from Notre Dame fans after getting to a national championship game last year and spending the last 5 weeks thinking they were going to be in the college football playoff field, because that's where the committee ranked them before yanking the rug out from underneath.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And look, there's no way you can convince me, by the way, because people in the chat are like, there's nothing positive about going to a bowl game. There is something
There are positive aspects of going to a bowl
game.
game.
There are positive aspects of going to a bowl game. And like I said, it helps Notre Dame because at this point, as of 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it's all about 2026. It's not about 25 anymore. It's now about 2026. In my mind, having 15 extra practices helps you for 26.
If Notre Dame had lost a third game and they had spent the last month, pretty much knowing they were not going to be in the college football playoff and they've got their mind geared up for something else, then that becomes a completely different story. But that's not the way this worked out. So I don't begrudge them for not making that decision. And again, they're not obligated to go be your entertainment just because you want them.
Absolutely.
Like, the bowl people
100%.
are more worried about their own existence. That's what they're worried about right now. They're worried that their bowls are going to go away, and most likely they are.
Yeah, exactly right. They most likely are going to go away.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. I mean, I would be even more like if somehow Notre Dame could finagle getting those 15 extra practices without having to play in the game, like that would be very beneficial to Notre Dame, in my personal opinion. And kids don't care about those stupid gifts that they get at a lower level bowl. They're all getting NIL money. They don't need an extra sweatsuit. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the thing too. Like, if they can
matter.
change these bowl games, if they can get the the sponsorship, to make it worth their while from an NIL standpoint, like they did with that players era in basketball, if these bowls can really figure out a way to give some incentive for these players to show up, then I think that's a different story. But until they do that,
right,
you are going to become extinct at some point. Your bowl games are going to at some point fail to exist because of that, because of the fact that they're going to expand the college football playoff again. And if that means 4 more teams are getting in, that's 4 more. That's, like 2 more bowl games that you're not going to have participants for.
Exactly.
There's going to be more opt-outs along the way. If you really want your bowls to continue to exist, do more from an NIL standpoint and give these players something to make it worth their while for showing up. I think that then maybe you've got a fighting chance, but you're just honestly going to have to come up with more money if you want to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It is what it is. We're all turning the page to next year, and now the breaking news is going to be who jumps in the transfer portal. Like that's where we are with Notre Dame football. So it is what it is. I think they returned the vast majority of their team for 26. I think they got a great shot at making a run. The schedule is very conducive for it, and we'll see what happens. But doesn't take away from the fact that Notre Dame got screwed 24 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need Duke's Mayo poured over my head.
No, God, no. If I was Marcus Freeman, that's reason enough not to go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, by the way.
Exactly.
I know, that's a hard pass, everybody. We're not going. I was, secretly hoping for the Holiday Bowl. That way I could go out to San Diego in the wintertime, but they didn't ask me. So, no.
One more comment from Pete Bevacqua from the Dan Patrick Show today. Patrick asked Bevacqua what role he thinks the ACC played in Notre Dame's exclusion from the college football playoff.
I would tell you, I mean, again, I have tremendous respect for Miami. You know, great team, great school. Their athletic director, Dan Radakovich, is a good friend. And all the teams in the ACC, great, wonderful universities. We have no gripes about any of the schools in the ACC. But we were mystified by the actions of the conference to attack, you know, their biggest, really, business partner in football and a member of their conference in 24 of our other sports. And I would tell you, Dan, I wouldn't be honest with you if I didn't say that they have certainly done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame.
What do you mean?
Just we didn't appreciate the fact that we were singled out repeatedly and compared to Miami. Not by Miami. Miami has every right to do that. But it raised a lot of eyebrows here that the conference was taking shots at us. And, you know, that's just not something we chose to do. We wouldn't choose to do that in the future. And people might disagree with us, but that's just not something that we'd be comfortable with. And again, we have no problem with any of these teams. These are all great teams. You look at those teams, Miami, like I said, great season. They beat us. You think about Alabama, nobody's had more success in college football over the last decade than Alabama. But Dan, you know, I mean, you follow this sport so closely. Everybody was saying that we were one of a handful of teams that could win this whole thing. Yeah. And now we have 0% chance. Even Nick Saban, you know, nobody knows more about college football maybe in the history of the world than Nick Saban. You know, and he said it yesterday, like, how is Notre Dame not in this? I mean, everybody is just kind of confused and perplexed. And we don't have good answers for the kids on our team, for our student athletes.
Are you going to reevaluate your relationship with the ACC, the overall relationship?
I would just say it's been strained.
Irreparable?
Well, you never say irreparable, but it's opened our eyes, and you know, it caught our attention.
Caught their attention.
I like that.
Caught their attention.
I like that.
Yeah.
He's not really mincing any words. He's like, they should not have done that. And they did. And we'll have to see where that goes, basically. I like that. I like that a lot.
I do too. I there are some people who think that Pete Bevacqua was not bold enough or, you know, firm enough in these statements. I mean, you are in the middle of basketball right now. You've got your men's and women's basketball teams, you know, like Notre Dame women were just at Florida State yesterday. So, you know, like your teams are going on the road in these areas. Like you're not just going to go complete flamethrower, scorched earth on the ACC while your teams are in the thick of this thing. But at the same time, I felt like he walked right up to the line and he was very firm and said what he needed to say about the ACC in all of this. Like we're over here taking notes. Notre Dame is over here taking notes. We know what you did. We saw what you did.
We got receipts.
I don't think you're going to get away with it. We've got the receipts. And again, we talked about this in the first hour of the show. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips issued a statement earlier today. I'm not going to read the whole thing again, but the key sentence from Jim Phillips' release, quote, "At no time was it suggested by the ACC that Notre Dame was not a worthy candidate for inclusion."
That's all they did. Unbelievable.
Give me a break.
That's all they did.
Did you delete all those tweets that you've been posting for the last 5 weeks?
Like I said, I'd be okay with some legal action here.
I'm sure people have screenshots.
I'd be okay with some legal action. I'm not gonna lie. Something to hit them where it matters, you know, in the pocketbook. You know, and Pete Bevacqua also said in that clip, he's like, why would you try to tick off your biggest business partner? What are you thinking? Is basically what he said.
Yeah. And that's what I think so many ACC people who are all up in arms about, oh, why do we play Notre Dame? Why is Notre Dame part of this? They're not a full member of the conference. They still don't get. And I saw some guy in the media from out, I think in one of the Carolinas, talking about how the ACC rescued Notre Dame during COVID. Yep. And he's you know, completely, you know, like Notre Dame people were going at him about it. Are you kidding? Notre Dame rescued the ACC. Yeah. College football, like, do you remember I think it was Gene Wojciechowski, wasn't it? The whole piece on ESPN about how Notre Dame literally saved college football. The Big Ten had already canceled their schedule. The SEC was ready to cancel their schedule, but because Notre Dame said, we're going to play and we're going to figure this out, and Notre Dame through the ACC Life draft by being a part of the ACC that year. That's what got the whole momentum going for the 2020 college football season. It ain't the other way around, my friends.
Correct.
Notre Dame saved college football that year, and don't try to rewrite history 5 years later, because that's the way it went down.
Right.
Like, go back. There are receipts for that as well. That's just the way it happened. If Notre Dame had not pushed and Jack Swarbrick hadn't pushed, to play college football that year, like, I'd say that there was probably a 90% chance that all you were going to see is a handful of low-level games played, like that college football was probably not going to be played that year.
And ACC was getting ready to hang it up. Like they were all planning on leaving until Notre Dame was like, not so fast, my friend.
Yep.
And basically brought college football back from life support. And I will also say, look, Jack Swarbrick made his name as the Notre Dame athletic director. It's one of the reasons that Notre Dame is on equal footing from all the other conference commissioners, in the CFP governing board, right? That comes up with the way that everything goes down and whether they're going to expand. Whether Jack Swarbrick came up with the 12-team playoff. That was Jack Swarbrick. Everybody's like, oh, Notre Dame is this and Notre Dame is that, and Notre Dame shouldn't be involved. But
made these backdoor deals. He was part of the process with Greg Sankey.
Correct.
Building this format.
People are delusional when it comes to all of this. Now, I think Jack Swarbrick, like when he walked in a room, people paid attention and they listened. I think Pete Bevacqua still needs to get to that point. It's not just the name on the nameplate. He's still
fairly new to the game. He's only been for a couple years at this.
But I think that he needs to get out there a little bit more and start, waving his staff around a little bit. You know what I mean? And get it out there that he's going to be somebody to be reckoned with in the big picture. I think he still needs to get there. I'm not saying he won't.
All right.
But yeah.
Staff waving. Coming
staff
up.
Waving. I picked my words very carefully there.
You did.
Yeah.
You steered your way around that.
I did.
Super chat from Indy versus everybody. Maybe Indy Nation will come together like America did back then and leave no doubt in 26. I think this has been in the been startup for a while. I'm not sure what this is in reference to. Are you?
I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully they do leave no doubt in 26 and they just go out and win by 50 every single game, because apparently that's what you have to do. And
I mean, if you want to look at next year, the schedule sets itself up pretty well. As JS Pyro says, I believe Miami plays Notre Dame next season, November 7th, if I'm not mistaken. You, sir, are correct. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that now with, Miami actually, assuming they fulfill their obligation and they don't overschedule with Florida A&M again, we expect them to be at Notre Dame Stadium.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see if they beg out of it,
Yep. Outbound asked, would there be as much uproar if they snubbed one of the group of 5 teams for us? Bama and Miami get in. I mean,
first of all, they couldn't do that. It's against the rules.
Because
so it doesn't.
The way the rules are written, the 5 highest ranked conference champions have to get in.
Yeah, look,
and that's why you ended up with the second group of 5, and that's again why Miami screwed this whole thing up by not even making it to the ACC championship game.
Right. Like, look, I touche to both of those teams for getting in, but let's be honest. James Madison played one Power 4 team, and they got their doors blown off of them. If anybody thinks that it's going to be a close game, they're ill-informed, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, having 2 group of 5 teams in this playoff is a waste of everybody's time. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
Vince, you're going to be away for a little while, my friend.
Yes. Yeah. So this is my last show, probably until, I don't know, Christmas time, maybe a little after, depending on how things go. I am having a procedure done, a nephrectomy, I believe is how it is pronounced, later on this week. Got to get rid of a little cancer on the kidney. So going to get that taken care of here later this week. So I'll be in recovery mode, and hopefully I'll be back and better than ever here real soon. So I just want to let everybody know why I won't be on.
Wishing you well, my friend. Yeah. Wishing you well.
And great.
Let me know if you have any diet restrictions, because again, some pumpkin rolls could be coming your way if you're
none.
Able. So
no diet restrictions coming my way.
All right.
Post surgery, pre-surgery, It's a little rough, but post,
Yeah,
not
I'm
so
sure.
much.
Yeah, that's what stinks. Getting ready
Yeah.
for that and all that.
Not
All right.
looking forward to that.
All right. Hopefully things go very well for you, my friend, and
Thank
we
you.
will look forward to talking to you again very soon. Again, Pete Bevacqua press conference noon Tuesday. We'll have plenty of comments from that on Tuesday's show. For Vince, I'm Sean. We'll talk to you later. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.